Say a man leaves when the breath goes quiet, but some voices never learn how to do that. Some voices just step back from the mic, let the crowd carry the song. Bob never told us where to go, he just showed us how to walk. Loose hands on the strings, eyes on the horizon, smiling like he knew there was no wrong turn if you stayed kind. Forever grateful, forever free. You left the road, but you stayed with me. I learned time doesn't move in straight lines. Standing in a field full of strangers who somehow felt like family. No tickets to heaven, no backstage pass to truth, just a rhythm, a chorus, and a chance to let go of whatever weighed you down that day. Bob sang like he trusted the song to land where it needed to. No rush, no finish line, just another verse waiting its turn. Forever grateful, forever kind. You taught us time is just a state of mind. Some men chase perfection, Bob chased connection between the notes, between the people, between who we were and who we might become if we listened a little longer. He sang of cowboys,
all right,
sinners, fools.
Good morning, everybody.
Not to judge them, but to remind
There's that tribute song to Mr. Bob Weir, who passed away Saturday before last. I hope everybody's doing good this morning. Good morning, Bubba here. A new day and a new you. Welcome. Let's go ahead and let's get started. It's Monday morning again, and that means one thing: a reset button. New opportunities, new challenges, and a new chance to show pride in your work and belief in your potential for leadership. Yesterday is done, and last week is over. What matters is how you show up today. All right, let's do a quick roll call. Where are you tuning in from? What trade are you in? And what kind of work you've got ahead of you this morning? Whether you're in a pickup truck, a crew truck, or already on site, you're part of this conversation. And you could even catch it on the rerun. If you catch it on the rerun, go ahead and tell us where you were heading, and what you were doing, and what you think about the show. We're here every Monday morning from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. And yeah, I know it's early, but I want to catch you before you get really started in your day. The organization, the getting there, the rush around. I want to help you set the mood for the balance of your day. That's why we get here at 5 a.m. That means me getting up at 4:30 in the morning, just so I can be with you. Trying to keep a little background music going. I've been messing around myself, trying to, uh, compose some music and some of this stuff. I've got an old resonator guitar laying around the house, and I kind of put this into the mix to see what y'all think. All right. Sounds like some good old get ready to go to work music here. And the reason I do, man, I got tired of paying money for a service that somebody got out there and made, and I appreciate it, but the service never updated it, and music never really sounded like what I wanted to talk about. So I bought a little keyboard, and I got some old string instruments around here, and I found this program where I could put in a few picks and tell the music which direction I wanted to go, and it would kind of help me generate some stuff, and this is what I got. Anyway, glad you're here this morning. I don't want it to overwhelm, but I'd like to hear it and set the mood for the show, so to say. Let me see where that's at. If that's too loud, y'all let me know. All right, so we're a new day, new week, a new you. It's leadership doesn't show up on payday. It shows up on Monday morning. Hope everybody's doing okay. Tell me where you at. You at the quick trip already, or the racetrack getting that hot cup of coffee? Are you at the shop picking up materials and tools? You got the duty or the pleasure of running around and picking up some guys to get them to work? Tell me what you got. I know there's a couple companies out there that the men meet at the office, and they all hop in a van and ride to the job together. There's dudes out there on big chemical plants and power plants where they don't have adequate parking, and you got to park 3 miles away, and they bring in a van to haul people back into. So this is a good opportunity to listen to Morning Bubba. And let me know how your day is going. Man, I've been there, and it's a cold morning here. Let's see, I think it's 20 degrees up here in the northeast Georgia mountains. And man, it's cold, so make sure you dress appropriately. All right. The phrase of the week. This week's phrase is simple and powerful. Don't talk. Show. Don't talk. Show. Character isn't what you say. It's what you do when nobody's keeping score. Workmanship isn't promises. It's results. And on a job site, talk is cheap. We know there's plenty of talk on a job site. Performance is priceless. You don't need to announce you're a leader. You don't need to explain that you care about safety. It shows. It shows by wearing your PPE right. Yeah, I know. Safety guys always talking about having on the PPE. And there's plenty of guys just slopping on. Kind of a rebellion. Well, you can rebel all you want. Wear it half-assed, half on, slanted, not straight, dirty, whatever. Go ahead and wear it, and I'll decide from there what I think about you as a leader. by doing the task the right way. Are you doing your proper planning, doing your PTP or JHA, whatever you call it? What I want to see is, are you preparing for your work properly? Be a leader. Approach every task like it's brand new, not like it's hum. You know how to do it. You did it at the house last week. Show us what you got. And by fixing this hazard instead of walking past them. You know, if I'm on a job site and I'm observing from another place and a guy stops and picks up some trash and throws it in the dumpster, and he don't know that I'm watching, or he clears the path of debris and moves cords out of the way or any of that kind of stuff, you know, I take notice, and so do a lot of other people. Be that guy. Be that guy. It's a part of who you are, man. It's how you act at work. It's how you act at home. It's how you act at your church. It's how you act at your kid's softball game, your daughter's dance lesson. It's all about you, man. That's your character you're working on. Make it known to everybody, and not by talking about it. You know, I got a lifetime of stories, and I tell jokes. I try to make people happy, and half of it's true. Well, a lot of it's true, but I do elaborate somewhat and embellish on a lot of stories, but it's to the benefit of the story. The story actually happened. And it's the same way when you're performing work. If you're the kind of guy that picks up a hazard without anybody telling you, cleans it up, protects your brother, and ensures the safety, keeps a clean job site, wears your PPE correctly, you're noticed. And then when you talk, you're respected. So always do your best, because people will follow actions. Words, they just fill the air. So, and you know how it is. Anybody can talk a good game. Leaders let their work do the talking. All right. Hope everybody's doing good. Send me a chat. Let me know where you're at. Also, send me. I got one the other day. I got what do you call it? A message from somebody the other day. It says, you know, I like what you're doing, but it sounds kind of scripted, like OSHA. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that. That's what I'm trying to do. Me and OSHA got the same goal in mind, is training. You want to make sure you're safe, but in order for you to be safe, you got to recognize the hazards. You got to know what can hurt you. It's amazing how many people really just have never had direction and safety, and they're doing stuff that to them they would never consider it a hazard, but you know, people have been hurt doing exactly that. And when you stop and address it, it gives them a pause and they think about it. And it's the same way with being on time, looking professional, and performing your work in a safe, timely, and efficient manner. Yeah, we're in the construction business, but the opportunities are unlimited in the construction field. There are so many opportunities around you every day. All you got to do is act the part. Speaking of safety, this past week, um, we talked about on the channel here. Let's see where it's at. Wrong side. This channel right. Nope. This channel right there. Toolbox safety topic videos on Middleclassbubba 5876 on the YouTube. We talked about trenching and excavations. And yes, I've investigated where trenches have collapsed. Men have died. So it's very important to me. I don't want to see anybody get injured. You know, dirt weighs a lot, man. A cubic yard, which is 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot of dirt, clay, can weigh as much as a F-150 pickup truck. And that's probably about 5,500 pounds, a couple tons, man. It can, if that falls on you, it can press the air out of you. And if you're deep enough, it don't take long for you to suffocate. Imagine a pickup truck on your chest. You can't breathe. And I don't know about you. How long does it take to dig up a 3 by 3 by 3 chunk of dirt? I know my little old tractor around here, hell, sometimes it take quite a while to dig it out, especially if some of it's compacted. Hell, you got to break it up. You got to think about it. You know, trenching is one of the most dangerous activities in construction. And these cave-ins, man, they happen fast, without warning, and they don't give any second chances. So if you're a dirt guy and you're working in trenches, keep a couple things in mind. Any trench 5 feet or deeper requires protective systems. The soil must be classified. Guessing gets people hurt. And there's classes you could take. You could study it on the YouTube. You can look online. You can study OSHA, and you can get that information. And if you're in the dirt business, by golly, you ought to know it. Remember, spoil piles need to stay at least 2 feet back. And that goes as well for equipment operations. You don't want anything on within 2 feet of that trench wall. You know, vibrations from equipment. You know, if you got one on the side of the roadway and you got trucks and automobiles rattling past all the time, it's going to change the properties of the soil on that sidewall. And now a lot of you professionals already know this. This is for some of the new guys out there. Leave me a chat. Give me a message. Let me know how or what some of your criteria for your company is for classifying soil. Now, OSHA has minimum standards that must be adhered to regardless. And your company can have more stringent requirements. Nothing wrong with that. And if your company has more stringent requirements, OSHA says you must follow their requirements, not theirs. All right. Also, ladders, access, egress must exist every 25 feet. You know, if a trench is 50 feet long, you got to have a ladder at one end, a ladder at the other end, and a ladder right there in the middle. That you got to have from where you're working, you got to have a ladder within 25 feet. So if you're working if you get beyond the middle of the trench, yeah, you got to have one in the middle there somewhere. Anyway, it's very important we do that. Look it up. If I'm wrong, Tell me I'm wrong. I need to learn too. I ain't the smartest man on the face of the planet, but the one thing is for certain. I'm here because I care. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and just like you, I'm getting ready to go to work. I spend as a side note, I'm normally down in the office at 5:30 on Sunday morning, scripting this stuff out, determining what I'm talking about, and getting ready for this show. And then I get up at 4 o'clock on Monday morning to get ready to put it out there to you. So I care. Ain't nobody paying me to do this. If somebody would, it'd make me happy, but I'm doing it either way. And you can go back and look, and I've made a bunch of these videos. I ain't made a penny yet. But anyway, back to trenches. Never, ever enter an unprotected trench, not even for a second. Investigated one time where a guy went in to make a measurement. Putting in pipe, I think it was. Went in to make a measurement, and he never came out alive. Trench collapsed on him. Guys went in to rescue, putting themselves at risk, and they couldn't get him dug out in time. Just remember, dirt weighs more than you think, and you can't jump out of the way. I don't care what you think. And gravity never takes a day off. You can outrun a lot of hazards, but you can't outrun the ground. All right, it is 5:20 in the morning. Well, thereabouts. If you want to be exact, 5:19. All right, y'all, send me a chat. Let me know you're watching. If you're scrolling by, say hi. I'd like to hear from you. If you'd like to talk about a particular subject, I could throw this script right out the window for a minute or two, and we'll talk about any particular hazards you may have questions about. Anyway, how about a job site challenge? And I'm going to talk about leadership all the time, and this is one I used back when I was in college, and I was a cadet in a military school. As I get older, the more I appreciate that. But there was this one sign someone taped on the bathroom door. And it said, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. This week's job challenge is a philosophy every crew lives by. And I just said it. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. If you know the right way, lead. If someone else has the experience, follow and learn. And if you're not helping, damn it, don't hinder. Motivate your coworkers by example, by being prepared, knowing what the task is, knowing what tools you're going to need, and knowing the steps to do that task and what hazards to mitigate. Be prepared. Be focused. Be focused on what you're doing. If you've had a good weekend and you want to jibber jabber about it, wait till the task is done. If you've got trouble at home, you ain't going to solve it if you get hurt. You're just going to add to it. So stay focused on what you're doing. Be accountable. If you make a mistake, own up to it. And if the crew has a task that got sideways on them, have a post-task briefing. Talk about what went wrong. Talk about how next time you're going to do it correctly. Your goal should be to complete your task in a safe, timely, and efficient manner. Strong crews don't fight leadership. They respect it. make sure the right person is in the right place. Listen, brother, I've been in situations I had no earthly idea what was going on. And if somebody said, I know what to do, we've done this, and I turned it to them. Hey, show us, tell us before we begin. Tell us how we're going to do it, what steps we need to take. I let them take that leadership role. And by letting them take that leadership role, it speaks volumes about your character. And that leader in that task, when you give him that authority. Now, I'm not suggesting that you forego your oversight, but I am suggesting that you let that man lead, because after the successful completion of that task, he has developed confidence, and you have developed confidence in him, and the team has developed confidence in themselves and in their leadership. So, there you go. That's my thoughts on it. If you disagree, I want to hear it. I really do. I want to hear your opposing thought. If you disagree with that, let me know. Anyway, here we are. I want to welcome you back again. We're about halfway into the show, and it's just an old fat guy sitting here talking about leadership and safety in the construction business. I want to say thank you for being here this morning. Anywho, we're going to move along. Anyway, all that serious talk. Y'all got a good joke. You know how it is on a construction site. Everybody likes standing around to goof off for a few minutes to get that attitude, right? You know, what does it say about comedy? Me and my wife were talking about it, and having a conversation with a pharmacist or something, and I was interjected and something I thought was humorous, and the pharmacist got a giggle out of it. Of course, my wife's been married to me for over 20 years. Everything I say no longer funny to her. Anyway, the pharmacist got a giggle out of it and then ran off to check on another thing for us. And I said, that's comic relief. She goes, I know what it is. I said, okay. Comic relief is healthy. Not everything is funny, and I get reminded of that pretty regular. But anyway, why did the trench inspector bring a ladder? Because he didn't trust the depth of the conversation. If y'all got a better joke, man, I could use some help here. Why don't experienced operators argue on site? Because they already know how things are going to end. I guess that's them old track hoe excavators. Hey, it's like a truck driver and a track hoe operator. They get a lot of time to sit there and observe, and think about what's going on around them. So, got that old track hoe philosophy going on. They've seen a lot. Most of them I've worked with have in the demolition business. But anyway, why did the worker stop talking and start working? Because the concrete didn't care about his opinion. Yep, when that concrete starts flowing, boy, them boys get busy. They know they got to get it set up or it'll pile up on them and be a mess at the backside and have to break it out. And not, I've seen that before. I had a project one time. They had the wrong slough in the concrete mix. They got it all poured and they did several pours and they did the slough test, and then they took some core samples and sent them off, and The core samples came back and it was the wrong PSI concrete mix. And the company I worked for was a demolition company. You talking about scary. It was about 4 floors up, and that whole concrete slab had to come up. And we was up there breaking that concrete slab, and whew, them old base floors, that old metal with they weld the pins to set your height and all that. They're nice and firm when they install those things to hold all that concrete, but when you start beating that concrete out, that stuff gets a little questionable. Anyway, if you had a similar experience, I'd like to hear about it. All right, let's see here. Once had a guy who talked nonstop about how things should be done. Another guy said maybe 10 words all day, but every task he touched was clean, safe, and done right. Guess who everyone went to when it mattered? That's Don't Talk Show in real life. All right. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, you know the guy, the old gray beard. Hey, he may not have a lot to say, but when he says it, brother, you better listen, cause he's probably seen it once or twice in his career. That's the way she shakes out. Anyway, give me some of your stories. Go ahead and shout out and put in the comments and share a story with me so I could share it in this broadcast. If you pop in right now, want to talk about it, heck, I could throw this script out in the window. Only reason I got this script is to fill space, so I'm not just sitting here staring out at you. It's safety guys like to talk and seem self-important. I guess I'm no different than any other safety guy. Hey, I do want to tell you, got a couple minutes here. Into this week, I got an opportunity to work with a bunch of guys that I've never worked with this one. It's in a different division out in Texas, but going out to Hereford, Texas. Anybody know where Hereford, Texas is? It's up there around I-40 and Amarillo. Looks like a 40,000 square foot demolition project. And not necessarily these guys don't know what they're doing, but the contract requires for a safety guy. And I guess they needed a safety guy that they could call on. And I guess I'm fortunate enough that they trust me to fill that role for them. So I'm headed out to Amarillo next week. Now, if they're an hour behind us, that means I still get to do this live stream. So I'm real happy about it. Even if they start at 6, like this last project I was on, it'll actually be 7 o'clock Eastern time. And I do this show on the Eastern time schedule. And I'm going to keep it that way until the demand is big enough to make me want to change it. So 6 o'clock out there will be 5 o'clock here. Am I doing that math right? But anyway, I hope to be able to continue to do this Monday morning live stream. I really enjoy getting out, getting up, and getting her done. Anyway, I had a viewer question. And had a question come in asking how to get crews to take trench safety seriously. And the answer is simple. Show them the consequences without waiting for one. Walk that trench with them. Point out hazards. Show how fast things can go wrong. There's all kinds of YouTube videos and photographs of accident investigations. You can take a few minutes and and show them how fast that stuff can happen. The best safety talk I ever heard was watching someone do it right. And I've had a few of them over the years. That is leadership in action. Explain. Just don't shout out orders. Take the time to explain why it's hazardous. If you walk along the outside of a trench and on the edge there, and you can point out some things to look for, whether it's water standing in the bottom or some cracks in the wall or traffic that's nearby or anything like that. Show them why it's hazardous. Describe to them how much soil weighs. This is just this trenching excavation, but there's fall hazards too. If they've got it set up where there's a little bit of swing hazard in a fall, show them the wall they're going to swing into and ask them how they think it might feel when they hit that wall. If they had a fall and they swung into that wall. One of the things I used to use is tying off. If it can't hold a pickup truck, it ain't going to hold you. That's pretty much a certainty. Guys tying off the conduit and lightweight railing and all that stuff. You got to show these guys. Tell them, hey, draw some real life stuff for them, and that'll sure make them take a look at it a little better. I'm sitting here piddling around. Well, all right. Well, let's see here. There we go. Yeah, I'm just getting some stream stuff, doing some housekeeping internally, and I haven't been doing this long enough to know how to keep talking and do other things. What they call that? Multitasking. I've always heard people talk about that. I guess I've never really developed expertise in multitasking. Anyway, where were we? It is 5:35. We were talking about task and setting good examples. The best talk I ever heard, like I said, was watching someone do it right. All right. Got to change out that dip. That's what the silence is all about. If you're just listening to this, boy, I can't let no silence go away. Y'all flip away thinking something has disrupted the stream. I'd like to figure out how to do a simulcast. How far that thing roll? Been a mile away, I reckon. I dropped the cap to my spit bottom. Don't know where it went. Better put that aside and knock that over on this old desk. It'd be a mess. Well. Uh-oh. Yep, it's magic. It disappeared. Tell me, hey, got this new green screen thing coming, going on versus the old. If you go back and look at some of the older videos, you'll see that original studio space with all my little knickknacks and doodads, it's still behind me, but I've got it covered up by this green fabric, and then it's all kinds of overlays. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Do I need to go back to the studio background, or uh, I can change this even? Let me look. See what's going on. Let's see. See, I can even change it up there. Look at that. What do y'all think? Well, yeah, which I can change these backgrounds, and I thought it'd be kind of cool. And it's I guess another layer of presentation that I can add. But anyway, I just wanted to see. I don't know how I did that. Anyway, where are we at? Hell, man. Tools and tricks. Now, like I said, it's looks to be about 20 degrees outside on the other side of all these walls and stuff. Out in the cold, 20 degrees. This is a day, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I normally do a couple things to take off the trash and go for a walk, a hike. And normally, I don't know, couple 3 miles hike. Some of them are kind of flat and comfortable, and 2 days a week they're kind of strenuous, uphill, downhill, mostly uphill, I think. But where was I going with this? Oh, but I have to, you know, I like to stay in shape, some kind of shape, for in case I do get called out to go participate in a project. And anyway, it's about staying comfortable when it's cold. And you know, when I first get out to go walking on mornings like this, and I got on a shirt like this, heavy, it's all wore out. I went to the barber Saturday. I said, man, this old shirt's about wore out, ain't it? He goes, man, it's just now broke in. Hell, this shirt is probably older than some of you guys out there in the field, some of you new guys. But anyway, I'll have a shirt on like this and maybe a fleece jacket, and then an outer, like a windshield, just to help keep in some of the heat. And boy, my hands get cold. That's the worst thing, my hands. And a hat. I always have a you know, just like you, I guess a head, a hard hat liner or something like that, or a wool stocking hat or something on my head. And as I get to walking, as I warm up, the first thing that comes off is that old stocking cap. I'll take it off and shove it in the jacket. But you got to be able to moderate your temperature as you're working. Yeah, it's cold when you first get out of the truck. But it gets warm. You start maybe sweating a little bit as you get going. Well, if you're wearing that hard hat liner, that should be the first thing you take off. That way it lets some of the heat out. Sometimes I'll even wear an old scarf my wife made for me, or an old army scarf or something, just to keep that heat inside the back of the neck and all that. But cold weather affects more than comfort. It affects your safety. Make sure you dress in layers. I also got a t-shirt on. It's not really a wicking layer. Some people have them old Under Armour things on, and that's good that you have that. Anyway, dress in layers, a wicking base, an insulating middle, and a wind blocking outer. I've covered some of that. Keep your hands and feet dry. I've got them old they're wool gloves and got leather palms on them, but man, I need to get a shell of some sort to keep that warmth in. But anyway, warm up during the breaks. If you get a break, you know, 9:15. If you start at 7, guys take a 9:15 coffee break, snack break, or whatever. Find a truck, get that thing cranked up. Of course, it takes it longer than 15 minutes to warm up if it's real cold. But warm up during the breaks. don't power through the numbness. That's a danger sign. Also, another important thing is make sure you eat and hydrate. Uh, we think about hydration a lot more in the summertime when we're boiling off sweat, but we still need to hydrate in wintertime. Uh, just the fact of respiration, you're losing a lot of moisture through just breathing. And if you know what I mean, if you've ever been camping or something like that, and you wake up in the morning and the inside of the tent is soaking wet. Matter of fact, you might wake up to drips of water uh, dropping on you from the interior of the tent. Well, that's water that's built up through your respiration. Also, if you're cold, man, cold workers rush, and rushing causes mistakes, and warm workers think clearly. So take care of your body temperature out there on these cold mornings. Think about what you're doing. Most importantly, keep an eye on your coworkers. If they start talking crazy or acting foolishly, they might be experiencing that thing called hypothermia. Cold stress is where you're getting cold and you're shivering and you can't hold a tool. And listen, that cold weather, if you can't hold on to a dadgum hammer or a tool that you're using, probably need to take a break and warm up. I don't go around saying I'm cold, I can't hold on to nothing because you want to take another cigarette break. Don't be that way. Well, that would reveal who you are as a leader. But some people are more susceptible to cold than others. Me, I got plenty of insulation. I can go sometimes a little longer. All right. Manage your body temperature. Trade wisdom quotes. I try and have one of these every Monday, and I got one this Monday. It's called, and I know you've heard it, the early bird gets the worm. What does that mean? The early bird gets the worm. I didn't do the origins of the quote. I've just heard it all my life. And I thought I'd pitch it into this meeting this morning. Our little toolbox, our safety. What do we call this thing? Live stream. The early bird gets the worm. Now, that doesn't mean just showing up early. It means being prepared early. Early planning, early hazard recognition, early leadership. Now, being early gives you time. Time gives you options. And options keep people safe. Keep that in mind. We've talked about a new day, new you, all this stuff. We've had a little bit of safety in here, about cold weather and trenching safety and things like that. We've had plenty to talk about. But when you get your mind going, especially my supervisors, supervisor. It's funny how they'll make you a leader just because you're willing to get up a half hour earlier and go pick up 2 crew members to take them to the job site on a daily basis. Ain't that funny how you get to make foreman or supervisor? If you're willing to get up an hour earlier than anybody else and go to shop and pick up tools, then pick up 2 or 3 guys, and then stop by the Quick Trip and let all the people you picked up get them a cup of coffee and a torta, old sweet snack, and they get to take a nap, half-hour nap while you drive to the job site, and then you get there and do the PTP and make sure they got everything in order. It's amazing how you get to be a supervisor just because you're the early bird. Well, now, I'm sure that old missing cap is driving me crazy. I'm sure that they compensate you a nickel or two more an hour, but uh, just the fact that you're a leader, I'm proud of you, man. And I'm sure if you're a leader on the job site, guess what? I imagine you're a leader in your church. You're probably coaching your kids in soccer or baseball or basketball, or you're the guy who's there to help out the neighbor. Yeah, that's your nature. Now, does that come naturally, being a leader? Some say it do. Some say you got to develop it. Either way, you can be one, whether it comes naturally or you decide, hey, I want to be the guy that I want to help people. I want to do this thing. Then you decide. But the responsibility of that is showing up. That's the hardest part, showing up. Anyway, I tell you, I'm proud of you guys. I am proud of you guys. Anyway, where are we at now? Y'all want me to go back to the other one? There we go. Look at there. I am. Back to this. And anyway, being a leader, time gives you options, and options keep your people safe. All right. This upcoming week, I got something missing here. Doggone it. I don't know what I've done. I'm going to switch back to the main screen. Anyway, this week on the channel, point toolbox safety topic videos at the other channel. This week we're talking about, we've been doing a series. I've been going through the OSHA Focus 4, and we're into the caught in between section of the OSHA Focus 4. And this week is the second or third video in the series. And we're talking about machinery and guards. Now, guards on machinery are there because someone got hurt before the rule existed. Think about that. A lot of time I've heard the comment, and I believe it, that the OSHA standards are written in blood. So guards are there because someone got hurt before the rule existed. And we break down what to look for, what not to bypass, and why shortcuts cost more than time. They can cost fingers. I've seen lockouts where you've had to lock out rails, chemicals, chemical pipelines, process lines, conveyor belts, crushers, screen drummels, or trummel, separate trash from wood debris and things like that. And you see a lot of guards on mining complexes. We got conveyors and motors that are running those conveyors, and there's guards everywhere. There's guards in warehouses that drive those conveyors, or material handlers. There's guards everywhere. And Don't forget the lockout tagout process. Uh, you shut a machine off and go to work on it, and somebody comes along and say, "Well, that daggum line is not running. What is going on?" A maintenance guy, and you're a mechanic or some kind of installer or doing whatever, and you cut it off at the breaker. Old maintenance guy says, "Dadgum, it must have jammed it up and cut off the brake, tripped the breaker." And so they throw the breaker, you in there working away, and bam, lose a finger. I've seen whole bodies caught in equipment before. Oh man, I don't even want to think about that one anymore. Pass by on that one. But anyway, make sure you do a proper lockout, tag out. Put a tag on it, put a lock on it, lock that box, do whatever you need to do. I was working on a car plant one time. I'm not going to name the car plant, but we was doing an install. I was working for a contracting company. They were building pedestals, installing the robots, and building all the cages around all those robots. And there was an outfit. Man, that was a weird job. There was 13 different contractors in about 6 different countries. You name it, from Mexico, East Germany, Estonia, Spain. There was all kinds of people there, and they all had specialties. They were all special. Well, there's this one special outfit that came in, and their job was to program these robots. And they had these cages that these robots operated in had interlocks on them. You couldn't go into that cage unless you coded in on this system, and it'd shut the system down and it would either lock the gate or unlock the gate. Well, it was locked out. Somebody had locked out the cage so nobody could go in. It had the hook on it, it had the clamp, clamp thing, and then it had a lock in it, and the old boy left his lock. And it was 7:00 in the morning. And this crew of 3 or 4 guys, they was going to go in and program this robot, work on programming it. And it was locked out. Dadgummit. Yeah, so I said, "Stand by, guys. Let me go get in touch with this fella and get this thing unlocked. And if anything else, we'll contact the manufacturer's safety department, have them remove that lock if we get a hold of that guy and he's too far out of pocket. We don't want to waste your time." So I went to make all those calls, and I couldn't get a hold of the guy. And I notified the manufacturer's safety people and told them we need that lock cut off. And so I walked back it was a big old factory. I walked back to where them guys were, and they was in there working. And I looked on that cage, and they had bent that lock, that locking mechanism, that lockout, tag out locking mechanism, bent it and took it off. I stopped their work right there. I said, "Let's go." I took them to the front gate and escorted them out and said they can come back in 3 days. And their owner, their boss man called. The owner of the company called me. He says, "Why did you take my guys off the site?" And I told him, I said, "Because they broke into that lockout, tag out, and didn't follow the procedure." He said, "Why do you give them 3 days off?" I said, "Well, it could have been like this. I'd already notified the plant safety, and they would have either thrown them off the job permanently, and you could brought them back home and replaced them, which would have taken you a couple weeks being from that part of the country, or I could give them 3 days off and satisfy the manufacturer and let them know we took immediate and appropriate action. Which do you prefer? He says, long silence. He says, okay, I appreciate you. I said, okay. And I had 138 guys on this job from 7 or 8 different companies from all over the world. And that message was loud and clear. I had no more lockout, tagout issues. I hated sending them guys home, man. You're thousands of miles away from home, and all of a sudden, all you got to do is sit in some small city, don't speak the language, and you're in a hotel room for 3 solid days. I hated it. I really did. But I knew, now all these 138 guys worked for a big subcontractor, so they were third tier. And I knew that if I hadn't have done that, it'd have been big hell to pay. I'd have had my reputation sullied. The GC that I was working for would have had their reputation sullied, and it'd have been hard for anybody else to ever, from that big company, to work for that manufacturer again. So I think we did the right thing, and after all. But anyway, it's time to wrap this devil up. I've had a wonderful time this morning. I'm grateful for every one of you who shows up early, works hard, and chooses to lead through action. Don't talk it, show it. Lead when you can, follow you when you should, and always keep it safe, timely, and efficient. Have a grateful day, have a grateful week, and I will see you next time. Bubba out.